Good evening and welcome to the March 14th, 2022 meeting of the Coeur d'Alene Parks and Recreation Commission. Melissa, would you get us started with roll call, please?
Commissioner Cranston,
Here.
Commissioner McDowell, Commissioner Lean,
Here.
Commissioner Tate,
Here.
Commissioner Hill, Commissioner Wood,
Here.
Commissioner Vallely,
Here.
Commissioner Spencer.
Here.
Thank you, Melissa. We have a quorum tonight, and Brighton we'll ask everybody to rise, and you can lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance tonight.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Do any of the commissioners tonight have a conflict of interest with any of our agenda items? No. There are none. Next then would be the approval of our December 20th, 2021 meeting minutes. If everybody's had an opportunity to review those, I'll entertain a motion to approve if there's no corrections.
So moved.
Okay.
Second?
Motion's been made by Commissioner Tate and seconded by Commissioner Wood to approve the December 20th, 2021 meeting minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Minutes are approved. Bill, that brings us to staff reports.
Thank you. So we've got a few things to go over. It's been a while since we've had a chance to get together. So on our recreation side, we're been very busy and had a very successful fall basketball season. We saw about 700 kids participate. We're looking forward to the spring, so we'll probably have just that many and maybe more. We've got our traditional programs such as spring soccer that serve about 750 kids. We're going to be starting those mini kickers here pretty soon, the next couple of weeks at Jenny Stokes. We have a partnership we're working on again this year as we did last year with the Northwest Pickleball Group. They're offering pickleball lessons through us. And then we also have another program, partnership with the Music Conservatory there on not too far from your home, Scott. They're on Government Way. So we're offering music lessons through us and a wide range of lessons and any type of musical instrument and a pretty diverse age group of kids. A swim program continues to be very popular, about 120 participants and in the last every 6 weeks. And that's it on the rec side. On the park side of business, we've got a new hire. Casey Cummings is starting March 21st. We hired him over from the west side of Washington State. He's got about 9 years of park experience, and their system was very similar to ours as far as the way we manage and break our areas up into oversight by individuals. And so they even had a cemetery, so he's familiar with our cemetery. So we're really looking forward to getting him on board. We've ordered our fertilizer for the season. We had to get in early just before the price jump with petroleum product and our fertilizer and chemicals. So we got a better buy than we would if we'd waited. We got that about a month ago. We're going to try something new this year. We usually do 2 or 3 applications, and it gets rather time-consuming. We're going to pay a little extra for a time release. We've tried some time release before, but there's a new product out that they seem to tell us that it works better than others. What I found, the time release doesn't work as long as it's supposed to. So we're going to use the cemetery as a sort of a testing ground to try it there first. And if it works and we get good results at it, we'll probably go this direction and only have to do 1 application per season rather than the 2 or 3 that we do. So that's something we're looking forward to trying. Nick, you're planning Arbor Day on the 29th, right?
Yes, sir.
And then we're going to do that down at our little pocket park down at 17th and Sherman, and we're going to work with 271 grade school kids to help plant some trees.
That is the plan.
Okay, cool. And then we got ourselves a mill a lumber mill, because we have a lot of down trees, and so we started creating some timbers and lumber ourselves. And in fact, we cut the dimensional lumber for a porta potty structure at the 17th and East Sherman Park. When our staff did that, built it, and Nick, you just got the tin, and you're going to put the roof on sometime the end of this week. So all that was done in-house. And here's an example of what we do sometimes in the winter. These are the downtown BID benches, both on Sherman and Lakeside. This was milled, every bit of this was milled by us. This is a trapezoid because it's got an S curve, so these things fit into a slot, and so it doesn't give you any pinching in these voids in between there. But our staff spent the winter taking care of this, and what I'd like to do is read you something from our lead, Mike Kempton, about his crew that was handling this. If I can find his comments here. So during the winter of 2021 and 22, we were tasked with several projects, including the rebuilding of all the downtown benches that are placed along Sherman and Lakeside. Several of our staff were involved, including Larry Walter, Mark Walter, Jacob Guy, and McLean Schultz, and myself, Mike Kempton. I would like to single out Jared Odell for his efforts and his performance on this project. After the project began, some of our staff were assigned to other projects, and I was out of the office for a while. And Jared took over responsibility completing this project and ensured a timely completion. By the end of the project, he was almost entirely responsible for fabricating parts, assembling the benches, and placing them on site. He understood the importance and priority of the city improvement and was dedicated to seeing it through upon its completion. I would like to thank him, again, this is from Mike, I would like to thank him for his efforts and let him know what a great job and how much I appreciate it. So anyway, that's just sort of the teamwork that we do. Mike had to leave in a while, and one of his people stepped up and did a nice job, and that's the results right there, is that bench. And let's see, what else we got here for you? And I think that's about it as far as updates. And I think we can go into our other stuff. Thanks.
Bill, with the kind of the basketball numbers in the rec program this year, how are you doing for gym space?
They're working it out. One thing I forgot to mention here, I guess, on that was that we're hoping with the pandemic behind us, we can start, these numbers are going to start to increase. And so, yeah, we're working with 271 and trying to get our time in again. So as our numbers increase, we will certainly ask them for more time.
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Jim?
Bill, are you publicizing your summer help
Our summer
already?
what, I'm sorry?
Your summer, the people that you hired, the extra people?
Yes, actually, thank you. Yes, we just put that out, I think, at the end of last week. So, yeah. And we bumped the wage up a little bit, so people, if they're interested in working for us, then go online and check it out. And we actually, I think we've hired, well, Jeff was going to look at one guy today, and we've already hired one. So hopefully we'll get more than the 6 we had last year out of the 23 we usually hire. We did put a hold last year, and it may happen again this year, on the number of events that we're going to allow to happen. What we did last year was we honored the historical yearly events, and we weren't taking on anything new. A lot of people are excited about having a new marathon or a new run or something, and our staff, we just can't manage it. So I put the stop to all that, and we were only honoring, like I say, the ones that have been historically there year after year.
So is 23 kind of the target number for your seasonal hires?
Well, it's really not a number. It's a dollar amount. And with that dollar amount, we were able to hire about 23. And what happens is we lose some, gain some, so that's how it is. We decided to up the wage a little bit so that we could maybe acquire better candidates. And so what that does, it just minimizes the number of employees we get. We just hopefully get a higher caliber of individual.
Mr. Chair?
Christie?
Bill, last year, it was a real problem, and you and your staff really managed it well. I remember you were trying to work with, I believe, maybe the college, maybe the school district. We've had those conversations where you share a little bit of resources. Is that going to happen again this year?
Well, we reached out to those folks, as you suggested. They were having the same problem we were having.
Yeah.
So there was no excess to be shared.
So, but when it comes to areas, like for instance, I think the college is still going to manage going all the way down the boulevard, the BLM property?
Correct. So we did the installation, well, we managed the installation between River and Hubbard on Northwest Boulevard, that big bank of green, that they do continue to maintain that. Monty in the snow removal does pick that up for them because it's part of our route. So he comes right out of, Memorial Field, skate park, and then hops right across the street and goes right on down past Harbor Center. So it's easy for us to absorb that. So we're doing the snow removal.
Great.
And although sometimes I think, a couple times, Monty, didn't they get there before you?
Yes, with that section, they started doing it, and if I get there before them, I get it.
Yeah, cool, good.
Great partnership. Thank you.
Are you still utilizing, I think it was Sensky to assist due to staffing shortages last year?
We did last year. We were able to do that. I don't know what their circumstance is this year as well. So I don't know what we'll be up against if they can't help us. They help us manage the Ramsey swales from I-90 all the way to the school, and they helped us with some of the non-park areas, fire stations, for example. But we'll take it as it goes. I don't know we haven't reached out to them yet to see what their employee pool looks like.
One more, Mr. Chair. Bill, the Atlas site, which turned out beautifully, has really made a difference in maintenance when you planted that clover. Are you going to look at that for other areas?
Well, we don't know yet. I'm hoping that it won't cause early retirement for me. We're hopeful that it will perform the way we like. There's still been some mistakes out there. I've yet to accept any of the landscaping. They're going to have to do a spring turn on for us this year. We still have yet to do the pressure tests, and they're going to do one more winterization for us. There's some improper seed varieties that were used that I'm going to have them kill it and start over. So we still have some trees to replace, some shrubs. We waited until the winter so we could see where the dieback was on the trees and shrubs. So we have, a good number of trees and shrubs to be done or be reinstalled this spring.
Yeah.
But, you're right. Our hope is that there will be some areas that we're not going to mow at all. For example, in the parking lot where those islands are that have common clover, we're not going to mow them. They're just going to get big and tall and get billowy and have white flowers and bees and butterflies. And
They look good.
That's another boon for this is that it's good for the pollinators.
Mm-hmm. Great.
Anything else for Bill? Thank you, Bill. Do any of the commissioners tonight have any comments or announcements? Okay. Next on the agenda then is time we reserve for public comments. Can I have a quick show of hands of those who wish to speak at public comments here that isn't already related to one of our agenda items? Okay, we have a couple. What we'll do is we'll just ask you to come up to the podium in the center. Just state your name and address for the record, and you'll have 5 minutes for your comments. 30 seconds left in your comments. I believe you'll be reminded there's 30 seconds left. And with that said, we'll have the first person up. Whoever wants to go first.
I'll go first. My name is Catherine Boss, 328 Military Drive. I've been a resident of the Fort Grounds for 37 years. I've had my house. And we have an email group in our neighborhood, and we've been discussing the summer closure, the seasonal closure of Mullen, of our new road. And I attended a lot of the planning meetings on that road, and there was never any discussion about it being closed all summer. the plan was that, that was 2 lanes each way. It was wide, and it was the only way into NIC at the time. And so there was a lot of traffic on Mullen, was what it was called then. And, there was a crosswalk for kids to walk from the park to the ball field. And it was dangerous because of the 4 lanes. So the idea was, as I understand it, was to narrow the road and put the curves in it to make it slow the traffic down, and to add the 2 entrances over there for NIC, so to take a lot of the traffic off of there. And I think the road is serving its purpose. So the road is, when they finish the road, they put up the signs that it's going to be closed all summer from Memorial Day to Labor Day. That was never discussed in any of the meetings that I attended. And so I don't understand why we would build this expensive road and narrow it and make it much safer, and then not use it. In the winter, it's really narrow. It's so narrow that if we get a lot of snow, it turns into 1 lane each way, and we have to stop and let somebody go. So it clearly wasn't built for winter. It was built to slow people down in the summer. So I'm just interested in what we can do to get the road open. They were talking originally about closing it for 3 events. Ironman, Art on the Green, and 4th of July. And the discussion I've heard is that, well, that would be confusing to have it closed some and open some. And I don't see that because there's so much confusion on those 3 weekends. There's a lot of road closures and blockades, and, Ironman, you can't drive anywhere down there. Art on the Green's busy 4th of July, there's lots of road closed. So it doesn't make sense to have our road closed all summer because of that. And I think the narrowing of the road makes it safe for people that are crossing. One of the problems with the road closure in the summer is as soon as that barricade goes up, we see a lot of wrong way traffic. Our streets are one way, and now all of a sudden cars are going the wrong way. They're trying to find the way out. Sometimes they circle around multiple times and they get stuck in there. Another problem with it is it divides downtown from NIC. It disrupts that corridor. Tourists like to come and go downtown and drive through the park and the beach and around the college, and they can't. They have to choose one or the other and go up onto Northwest Boulevard. So I just think it really it disrupts that whole flow there. So anyway, we have been talking about this on our Fort Grounds email.
30
and
seconds.
There's pretty much, pretty close to 50-50 of people that, these are just the people that have responded. I'd say 24, at least maybe 30. And a little bit of the majority would like to see it open all summer except for events. But it's pretty close to 50-50. Okay. So I'm just looking for what we can do to get it open.
Excuse me,
Thank
any
you.
questions for Catherine? Thank you.
Yep.
Terry Godbout, I live at 312 Forest Drive in the Fort grounds. What I'd like to do, because I was involved with this Four Corners project from the get-go, both the citywide gatherings and the neighborhood gatherings. It started in late 2012. I believe late 2013, we had a huge gathering in this room, and hundreds of people, and the whole purpose was to solicit input from the citizenry regarding the project, what it was going to be. 2 to 3 months later, we had a follow-up meeting, and the first thing that happened at that meeting is Del Hatch, a landscape architect from Spokane and a consultant for the project, walked up to the podium and he said, "Holy smokes, if there's one thing we learned from all the people at the last meeting is that they want to keep Mullen open." We were told, backing up what Catherine says at this point, the options were closed permanently, open with possible event closures. No one anywhere ever objected to the event closures. That's not an issue. Everybody's in favor of that. Again, what Catherine said, the option of a seasonal closure was never mentioned at any hearing. There was never a meeting notifying the residents or a hearing to see what they thought about the seasonal closure. It just happened. The barricades went up and we had a seasonal closure on our hands. At this time, this was getting pretty controversial, and Dave Oliveira, who was had a blog in the Spokesman called Huckleberries, there was a lot of give and take on this issue, and finally he posted a poll to the residents of Coeur d'Alene asking them to respond, and gave them a week to answer. Within a week, 72%, and this isn't the Fort Grounds neighborhood, this is citywide in Coeur d'Alene, 72% of those that responded said they wanted to keep Mullen open. Okay, little problems that have come up. Automotive navigation systems now send people up Northwest Boulevard and down River because they never know when Mullen is open. So they send everybody year-round up through River. Not a big deal. The Idaho Transportation Department maintains a map that shows where every vehicle or pedestrian incident has happened in the last 5 years. This is an online map. Anyone can access this. For the last 5 years, that map shows not a single vehicle or pedestrian incident from the Park and Garden incident where the new roundabout is, eastward to Northwest Boulevard, except for 2 car versus car incidents where the parking lot just east of the carousel comes into Fort Grounds Drive. That's it, 2. No other incident of any kind. Catherine briefly mentioned the one-way streets. I live on a one-way street, and I'll tell you what happens. We have a narrow street. We have a lot of kids, grandkids in the summer that are playing foursquare in the street. There's a little curve in the street, so you can't see more than like half a block. One-way drivers, and I have no idea why, and people have traded off and counted, and we see during the summer an average of 10 per day. For some reason, they drive incredibly fast, probably because they're illegal and they don't want to have much exposure, so they come tearing down the street. And finally, in closing, the one thing that I would like to see is a one summer trial. The traffic, the improvements were very well designed. I think they work quite well year-round. There's never a problem. Everybody talks about little kids getting run over by speeding cars, and they get all emotional. But in fact, it's a pretty good system. So why not have a single summer trial? Just see if it'll work as it was designed, and everybody's happy. Yes.
Is that open consistently, or are you suggesting that it be closed on the 4th of July.
Oh, event closures. not a
Event
problem.
closures, okay. I just wanted to make sure I wrote
Sure,
that down right.
yeah.
Thank you.
In the fort, we wouldn't live in the fort grounds if we didn't like events, so.
It'd be tough.
Anything else for Terry? Thank you,
Okay.
Terry.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Bill Elliott. My wife Barbara and I live at 335 Park Drive here in Coeur d'Alene. First thing I'd like to do is thank you, commissioners, for your public service. This is a tough time for public service, and I know how much you get paid, so thanks for your good work. I really do appreciate that. And Bill Greenwood and your team, thank you for a great park system, too. You guys do a great job. I'd like to support what Catherine and Terry had to say. My wife and I, our home, if you look up 335 Park Drive, we're right at the intersection of Fort Ground and Park. Literally, the stop sign's right in front of our house. All summer long, we see the confusion going on. We see people going the wrong way because of that closure that we have there on Fort Ground. And in fact, sometimes after we've seen people the second or third time trying to get out of the neighborhood, we walk out and kind of give them some directions on how to get out of Fort Ground. It gets confusing with our one-way street, so we're very much in favor of that. So that's our view, at least. Also, we'd like to add an addendum to it, though. Another thing we see happening that we think is a safety issue is people trying to transport their baby strollers, their rafts, all their beach gear, charcoal grills and so forth into the park and into City Beach, City Park there. They have to park, they sometimes park along Park Drive, which I'm not sure is completely legal to do that, and they leave their cars there for some period of time. Or they're dragging it from their parking lots across Fort Ground area. I'd like to suggest that you consider that parking that's along Fort Ground and Park at that intersection there, consider making that a loading and unloading zone only. I think that'll help with another issue also, because that is the one area that there's not a fee charged for parking. People circle and circle, and they're waiting for one of those spaces to open up so they get free, so they don't have to pay $1 to the city to park. You know, it's not a lot of money. We got a lot of parking now along Memorial Field, along the Human Rights Institute, and at Independence Point. So there's quite a bit of public parking available. I think it'd be safer if we open that up for loading and unloading only at that space. So that's an addendum to the comments from Catherine and Terry. Any questions for me?
Bill, kind of going back to the conflict with the one-way streets.
Yeah.
So when Fort Ground Drive is closed in the summer season, then are you
Yeah.
seeing, I guess, cars going through the roundabout and trying to continue south on Park towards the beach?
They are, yes, that's exactly right. We see an increase in that. We see it happen sometimes anyhow, even the other time of the year, but a dramatic increase in the summertime when that's closed off, because it's confusing. It really is confusing to folks on how to get around in our neighborhood there.
Okay.
So it really picks up, and it is dangerous when you're going one way, because people speed up a little bit, they're confused, they're trying to get out. They're not trying to do anything illegal. They're just trying to get out of the neighborhood or try to get to parking. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So it dramatically picks up in the summertime. It does.
Okay.
I don't have statistics on it, but Barbara and I we don't actually have a counter out there, but we see a lot of folks the second and third time coming around that stop sign and trying to say, how do I get out of here?
Okay.
Okay? Thank you for listening.
Bill.
Do appreciate it.
Bill Greenwood, do you know what the parking policy is on Park Drive there adjacent to the park, City
Right.
Park?
So we're talking the northwest corner of City Park. And there, I
Yes.
think there's 11 stalls and 1 handicap stall.
What about the street parking or curb
The
parking
street-
along Park? There's no
That's
parking
not
there at
allowed.
all?
And it's a post that states as such.
Okay. Okay.
I'm Ann Melbourne, live at 210 North Forest Drive in the Fort Grounds, And I'll speak on behalf of those who are happy that this road is closed during the summer months. I live on Forest. We get a lot of wrong-way drivers all the time, but that's 12 months of the year. I could see people at my house, they stop, look at the sign, it says one way to go left, and 2 minutes later, they make a right turn. To me, there's enough signage down there, but people choose to ignore one-way exit or no parking. And I think it's a big safety issue to have the park closed. It's more confusing to people who want to leave and not know what time they can get in or get out, because unless the ballards go up at 12:01 and come down at 5:01, you don't know. You can miss it by a few minutes. I get lots of calls from neighbors that are more frustrated because I thought it was open, I thought it was closed. One thing that we need to realize that this year, after a 10-year hiatus, summer theater is coming back to NIC. And so that's 8 weekends that you're going to have people coming and going from NIC, especially on Sunday afternoons for a 2 p.m. show. If people ignore the crosswalks, I walk every day, most of the time around the park and downtown, and they cross where it's convenient for them, and they don't always look. And if you get a lot of people crossing the street and traffic has to back up coming off Northwest Boulevard, you're going to have cars out into this intersection waiting for the pedestrians to clear so they can get across. And I think at this time it is just easier. Everybody knows it's well marked when it's closed and when it's not. And as far as people having a loading and unloading zone, that would be a big problem. On big event days, you have to have the police and the explorers down there telling people, move. Because I have seen people park for 2 hours. They put the flashers on and the hatch back up as if they're unloading, and they stay there. And they'll stay there all day long if you let them. So I'll speak on behalf of those who would like to stay with a seasonal closure.
Okay. Anything for Ann? Thank you, Ann. Would anybody else like to speak? Okay,
Mr. Chair?
yeah,
I know it's not on our agenda, but can I ask Bill a couple of questions?
certainly.
Bill, it's not on our agenda, so we won't be really making any decisions about this, but can you at least, for our purposes, give us a history of, has it been 3 summers since that's been redone?
I think we were complete in 14 or 15, so it's been more than that.
Longer than that. Where have I been? Anyway, what's the history?
Well, the history was, as everybody said, it was Mullen before, and it was a raceway. It was dangerous with the children coming from across City Park into Memorial and back and forth. When we had this opportunity to realign it, and as stated earlier, it put an S in it so that it would slow people down. But we recognized, and I thought we vetted it very well, because I remember talking with some folks there about this. It wasn't a surprise to anybody, because we did look at all those options. The idea of a random closure was discussed. As I recall, my statement was that would become extremely problematic for maintenance and management of, and I believe people would become more frustrated with this thing where, gosh, it was open yesterday and now it's closed. And it's like, it seemed much clearer for us to do a seasonal closure during the peak season. I have been down there for 24 years working in that park. And I have always seen people driving the wrong way when it was Mullen. I have always seen people parking on Park Drive to unload. And so this is not anything that's been created by now Fort Ground Drive being closed. It's been a problem from day one of all the things that were discussed as people parking in the wrong spot and going the wrong way. That's been going on for a long time. Ann spoke to that a little bit. And it was decided, it went to you guys and it went to council on this closure, and it was accepted by you and accepted by council.
Okay, that was before my time, but I'm going to take your word for that. And then also, so
You're
how...
probably writing tickets.
I was. Ann's right about that. Spent a lot of time on Park Drive. People just will not abide. They won't just drop their barbecue off and leave. They like to leave their vehicle there. So the police department stays very busy with that. So how many summers then have we had this closed in a row?
Well, if it was 14 or 15, so,
Okay.
you know.
So ever since, we've done that for the whole summer
Yeah,
ever since?
so
Okay.
every Memorial Day, and then we open it back up on every Labor Day. And it's our staff that puts those ballers up and takes them down.
Okay, thank you. I just didn't have the history on that. Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay. Well, thank you for your comments. We'll take your comments under advisement and share, relate those with staff, and see where that goes. Thank you.
A quick question, sorry, we were late. Did we speak about? Come up to the podium, please. Okay.
Can't hear you if you're not on a mic.
I'll be right there. Hey, guys. Is this a mic? That's a mic. I'm Jonathan. I live down in the foregrounds as well. Just curious if we spoke about getting access to there in the summers with, I guess, coming north on Northwest Boulevard, trying to turn in. I've had issues where I can't get through the light, where there's so many people coming downtown that I can't actually turn in. So having like that light switch, maybe potentially make it switch so it's similar to the one there a little south.
So if you would, why don't you convey that to our street department?
Okay.
Because they're in charge of the signaling, and maybe there's something they can do to help alleviate that.
Yeah, that'd be great. I know that it's, and a lot of us were really curious about whether or not the closure has really affected accidents and that sort of stuff, positively, negatively, that sort of thing.
Well, I don't have that data. I don't
Okay.
know. We had a lot of near misses when it was still Mullen, because what happened was there was parking on that street that was allowed.
Okay.
And kids would dart in and out of parked cars onto the street. It was a 4-lane, so people had tendency to move a little fast, and it was a straight shot.
Yeah, I could definitely see how that would be an issue.
So there, I recall there was a child hit near, we had a concession stand there at one time.
Okay.
And there was a kid that was hit there in that crosswalk before.
So we had an accident before.
Yeah, and this was years ago. This was probably early 2000.
Okay.
But I'd have to check the stats on that, because I remember the gal's name was Ruth Barker, who was our concessionaire, and she was real upset by it.
Right.
Because she witnessed the whole thing.
Yeah,
She
I
was,
bet.
and she would put out one of those little cutouts that are kind of lime green with like kind of look
Yeah,
like a
yeah,
kid with
yeah,
the
like
flag,
the
right?
slow
She would
down
always
thing.
put that out
Right,
because
yeah.
it just freaked her out after that child was injured.
Okay. And then has there been any accidents since you guys made the switch when it's not closed for the summers?
Not that I'm aware of, because I have to look at the stats. I don't know. And
Okay.
I think slowing even the serpentine piece and the roundabouts themselves help with that.
Mm-hmm.
And where the crossing area is, it's wide open now, and there's bollards there, so you can see everybody. And
Right,
on both
yeah.
sides, north and south of Fort Ground, you can see everybody really well. So, I mean, some of the design
Mm-hmm.
helped with that.
Right. So the the shift that you guys made
Has
has
helped.
positively affected it, and there hasn't been any accidents that you guys know about.
Well, because we've been closing it all summer long, so I think that also helps the numbers where there's no accident.
Right, but it's still busy before
Right.
and after the closures too, so it's still reasonably safe as it is.
Well, but I wouldn't know. I mean, honestly, when you get down to it, the
Mm-hmm.
argument is that, it's safer now because we're closing it.
Right. Would you guys maybe consider like a trial of keeping it open? Just to see
Well,
if
the
there was-
indication I get is I don't believe that there's a lot of traction about making the change, but like Commissioner Cranston said, we can move this.
Traction with who?
I can't move this on. I can certainly let administration know that. So what happens is administration and other council members quite often will watch this, and so they'll hear your concerns. And I know it was Councilman Gookin that suggested that you all
Yeah.
get here and state your position, which
Well,
is
we
what
had,
you're doing.
I mean, they probably told you, we had like they have a great little email thread for the neighborhood. And, do you have the actual numbers? You gave the actual numbers? Okay, already? Yeah. So, sorry, I lost my contact right before I came up here. It's a little, so everyone's a little fuzzy. But, okay. Well, thanks for your
Did you
time.
have something?
I did. I wanted to point something out, and I don't know how long all of you have lived down in the Fort Ground. Some of you for a very long time. I know that I have lived in Coeur d'Alene since the dinosaurs were still here. And what I can tell you that I recall about that area was prior to the large design, while we were very popular during summer months as far as people trying to get to the beach, there was not a lot to do on the memorial side of that park. And since then, we've moved the skate park over there. We've added all sorts of facilities, so the volume of traffic has increased quite a bit. And my only concern, and I'm a math person, I'm an accountant, is statistics can give us information, but we can't prove a negative. In this case, we can't say, well, we didn't have any accidents, and that was the same as not having any accidents before, because the traffic has increased so incredibly, and our population has increased quite a bit. And I think we do have to proceed with caution, but I certainly many valid points. I was glad to hear the piece on parking on Park and the different issues brought forward. And I think, we're giving serious consideration to everything that you have to say.
Yeah, we really appreciate you guys taking it up. I think, I guess we'll leave with, I wanted to.
30 seconds.
Thank you. Just wanted to make sure that I had everything covered in my head, but just to your point, when we do close down that road, it creates a lot more traffic for the folks that live right behind the skate park.
I can
They've mentioned
imagine.
that too, like the traffic goes up exponentially for them. And my kids go to the skate park, and actually that road feels more dangerous in the summers because everyone's going on it. So to have the extra access out, I think would alleviate some of the stress on that road. So thanks for your time.
Quick question.
Yeah.
So your kids go to the skate park?
Sure, yeah, they go to the skate park, they go play with the futsal courts and all that.
Good.
Yeah.
Have they played on the futsal court?
Oh, yeah.
Excellent,
Yeah,
yeah.
they just there, 2 days ago playing pickup?
Good,
Yeah.
okay.
It's an awesome addition.
And so if your kids would ever come in and tell me what it is that they think they might want to see there different, because we worked with a lot of the youth to design that skate park.
I'll
Yeah,
grab your
so
card. if you
that'd
have
be
a
really
card or
cool to
something
get
like that.
some user input, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you bet.
Yeah.
Okay, cool,
Yeah,
thanks.
I'd love to.
Yeah.
I can help you too. I love
All
to
right.
play there.
All right.
Great. Thank you, everyone. All right. Next on the agenda is an information item regarding Fernan Volunteer Award.
So Monty's been working on Fernan a bunch, and he's got a recognition for a gentleman who has been instrumental in developing that trail system. So here, take it away, Monty.
Good evening, Commissioners. Here to talk to you tonight about an amazing volunteer and his group of kids that's been helping us for about 9 years to make the Fernan Trail System a trail system. The property was donated, gifted to the city. About 47 acres was gifted to the city 10 years ago. And there was another 6-acre parcel that the city purchased to complete the entire parcel, along with a small parking lot and trailhead. Mark works for the Post Falls School District, the ATS program, and twice a week for 2 hours a day, sometimes more, and at various times we've had bigger groups and other kids come as well. They've worked on slowly just building that trail system piece by piece. He's helped me plan the whole system out. He comes up with better ideas when he's on the ground making the trail connections, saying, hey, this going this way works better than going that way. Let's put a switch back here. Let's build a little bridge over this little creek. So for all the years and all the labor and all the love, I just want to say thank you.
Well, thanks, Marty. That's the only nice thing you've ever done, Marty.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Christie.
I didn't catch your name, though. I really want to thank you, but you said Mark, but.
Mark Jones.
Mark Jones.
Yeah.
My goodness, what a lot of volunteerism.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
not just myself. I mean, it's been a great opportunity. I call it my classroom. I've had nearly 300 students up there. I think it's 288 so far. That's a lot of students over the year. We were there since day one with Monty, but we had been involved in other trail systems, and that's how we kind of got connected through the Trail Building Association. I thought, well, this is perfect for my little classroom and the kids. And I mean, it's applied math. Really, we have slope, we have grade. it's science, there's drainage. And so, you know, I've had math class, science class, all kinds of kids up there. And so it's been a great opportunity. And like I tell the kids, you know, it's a legacy. You know, how many times are you going to be involved in your high school career in a legacy program? You know, it's going to be there forever. So it's been a great opportunity. And Monty's been, you know, Monty, Mike Kempton was there early on. You know, we stumbled into each other, you know, like I said, because of trail systems. And when this landed kind of in my direction, it's like, this is perfect. And it's been wonderful working with the city and the Parks Department related to this because, you know, I can truly say, and the kids can truly say it, it's been kid-built, you know, and that's a big deal. That's a big deal for Coeur d'Alene. You know, I just live right down here. You know, so I'm on Tubbs Hill every day. and
So
it's-
Mark,
it's
where did you
nice to-
teach at?
Post Falls School District. So I manage a program called Alternative to Suspension in the Post Falls School District. I started about 20 years ago now. And so it's a program for suspended and expelled students or other students who need, you know, extra credit or time towards credit. And
So do you bust them up there?
no, we have a certain vehicle for it.
Okay.
We have bused them in the past. We spent,
Right.
there was a couple years, I believe there was about 28 weeks. We do a quarterly system. And so we did a 9-week block twice a year for a couple of years, so about 28 weeks in total, where we would bus them up there twice a week. And we do it about a 90-minute block. It would be truly just a math class that would come up, and the science class, you know, that sort of thing. The students I work with from 4 different schools, both our middle schools, both our high schools. Like I said, we've had quite a few up there.
Terrific.
It's been fun.
I
So
think that
Mark,
is
this is
really,
great.
really wonderful.
This is not a retirement. You're going to continue to work with us, and
This was
we're
it.
going to tap
This
you
was
as
it.
much as we
When
can,
I
right?
received this from Monty.
Take it away,
I
Monty.
get a pat on the back after all these years. Yes. I'm going to wander around Fort Ground wondering where these ballards are.
Yeah, I do want to say
Ballards are going to pop up.
that in an age where we're trying to push things to the internet and math and science needing hands-on instruction and the ability to connect an action
Yep.
with a learning piece is so huge.
Yep.
I really want to applaud you for that.
Yep. And you know, piggybacking on what you're saying, you know, we can graph it out on a map and everything like that, but when I take those students out there and you're applying it, that hands-on touch feel, sure, there's a shovel, there's a Pulaski, there's a lot of other things associated with it, but then they're understanding a lot more.
Exactly.
You know, when it's piecing together. And so, like, even some cool stuff we do is that Ferdinand map, you know, it's available in the city. You know, I have it on my desk. We bring it up and we talk about, you know, planning, that whole planning piece. Even, not even the fact that we're up there doing the work, which is sometimes overwhelming. But no, it's not. It's the planning piece that goes into it because then they're witnessing results, you
Absolutely.
know, from that aspect as well.
You may have given them
When we
some
put
of
it
the
in the
few
classroom and-
successes they'll ever have.
Yeah. And so it's been a great opportunity.
That is just wonderful.
Well, thank you
Miss-
so much.
Mr. Lean, as a former building principal, wouldn't you have loved to have been part of that?
Yes, that would have been great.
Yeah. Kudos to you.
Hey, cool.
Thank
And
you.
we're not quite done yet. We still
Oh.
have one more loop to connect in the second bay, and that'll be our 4th trail system loop
Yep.
in there. And once that's done, then the system would be done. Then we're talking about working on Tubbs Hill.
No, never gonna happen. It would be nice to get some
Of course.
foot traffic up there. Mention it to your friends. You know, the pieces we're working on now, because we have all the loops going up. You probably are aware of that. But the stuff that we started on 10 years ago, 9, 10 years ago, I'm backtracking now. We're losing, you know, with 36 inches was our width, but it's been overgrown, where it's kind of turned into a single track. You know, it'd be nice to have some regular users up there more often. Our main trail now is fine, it's beautiful, but some of those little connectors are,
Right.
I'm working on those.
Right. Probably end up getting a map, just like we have for Tubbs Hill, that you can take your phone with you and it'll tell you where you're at and show you all the loops, and that'll probably help get people up there as well.
Yep. So,
Is there
thanks for your
cell
time, I
service?
appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Can I go now?
Thank you.
Next, we have the Dwight Bershaw Memorial Bench.
Let's see, is that one there? Okay. So we've had, let's see, we have several benches at McEwen that are memorial benches. And so we usually work those through the Panhandle Parks Foundation. And so there are existing benches, so people will pay for the honor to memorialize a loved one. And so we probably have 5 or 6 of those, maybe 7 that are some existing benches. Additionally, we have installed 3 swinging benches that were memorial benches paid by the loved ones of the person that wants to be have memory of. So this one's a little different. Dwight, we lost Dwight last year. Dwight was, people don't know this, but Dwight was actually, I would say, a part-time, full-time volunteer park employee. I would get texts from Dwight at 3 in the morning about something that was wrong at a park. His time, he and I had lunch about a month and a half or 2 before he passed away. And I said, why are you up so much in the morning? And he goes out for a walk, or went out for a walk with his dog at about 3 in the morning. That was his time. He would go to bed kind of early, get up really early, and his time was to walk around the park. He would walk through Memorial Field, he would walk through City Park, he would walk through Independence Point, and obviously he would hear at McEwen. And I would get comments from him, either it's texts or voicemails and or sometimes video of irrigation, because we're running irrigation at 2 and 3, 4 in the morning about a break. And I'd get a note from him that said, 30 feet west of the stage in City Park, you have a broken head, and I'll get a picture. And so he would send me this stuff, and he would also go pick up trash that was, before my staff got there that morning at 7, he'd beat us to it and pick up the trash. When we had lunch, he said, Bill, you need me to put another trash can up here near Sweet Lou's up in that area, because that's where I'm picking up a lot of trash and I have to carry it too far. And so he was great for that. And one of the best stories was I got a call at 3 in the morning from him, and I picked it up, and somehow our basin of Greg Moore's Memorial Waterfall, the water had gone out of it. Someone had inadvertently switched the valve and it drained. Well, the pump sounded like a turbo motor. It was dry pumping. And I called our superintendent, Jeff Erickson, and we met out there, and he got the keys and we turned it off. And, if it wasn't for Dwight, we probably would have burned up the motor, but we were able to make the repair. So this is about Dwight, and it's about a bench that we want to put in, and I'm going to show you the locations. We're just kind of as an update. And tomorrow morning, the club that he was part of, Sunrise Rotary, I'm making a presentation there tomorrow morning, this one. They've raised some money to offset this cost, so there's no cost to us. And his employer was Clearwater Summit Landscaping, and they're going to be donating a lot of the materials and a lot of labor. And so there's no cost to this at all for us. So this is an overview from McEwen when it was built. And so here is the tennis court, here's basketball court, here's a playground, splash pad, the pavilion is right here. The reason I show you this big one is that this is Tubbs Hill, right? And then this trail that goes along this edge. Right in here, you'll see the next slide, is this location where we want to put this. This was the location here where Legion had its scoreboard. If you remember, it was between these 2 larches. These larches aren't dead. This is fall. They're turning color. And so we're going to put a bench and kind of a landscape planting in that area in memory of Dwight. And this is what it's going to look like. So this is that trail, and the only thing that's wrong with this rendering is that we have changed it in that this had decomposed granite. We've gone to pavers. And so there's a bench here and a table, some chairs and a bench. This is an interesting piece back here. So there's landscaping. Here's the trail. You just kind of walk through here. You can sit down. There's a seating place here. These are just some landscape beds on both sides. And this grouping is one of his buddies that was a Monday group of guys that would get together with Dwight was Dale Gebhardt. He works for Landmark, and he did this rendering, and this is supposed to be representative of Dwight's family. He has two children and his daughter, and the larger stone is supposed to represent Dwight, and we're going to put a plaque on this stone. Again, just a little quote from his wife, and the plaque, we're hoping to make it look like the one up here, the swinging bench, where Madge Stonewall Gibson has her plaque. It's kind of in a sepia tone, and it's really cool looking. And Allie, his wife, really liked the way that looked, so we're probably going to lean that direction. But we haven't quite got the verbiage yet about what she wants to put on the plaque. But again, all the costs are being covered by his club, and with that, I'd stand for any questions.
Just a comment,
Yeah,
Mr. Chair?
Christie.
Well, Bill, first of all, what an incredible smile he's got.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
And it's so great to see an everyday Coeur d'Alenian, someone who just lived and breathed for the park system. And it's just, what a great tribute. So well deserved. I'm glad that your department is part of it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Okay, we have another information item regarding the fuel mitigation presentation.
Before I get into my update here about fuel mitigation, I would like to read to you or talk about a press release that you might have seen today. It should hit the Coeur d'Alene Press tomorrow, and that's regarding our annual Relief Coeur d'Alene program that my division, the Urban Forestry Division of the Parks Department, holds yearly as budget allows. Sometimes we do 2 a year, but most of the time it's 1. But basically, we have a number of street trees that need good homes. This program is for residential single-family homeowners. They can apply for our program to have a tree planted in the public right-of-way abutting their home. This program is, the trees are planted free of charge. There's no cost to the homeowner whatsoever. And we do this to try to grow our urban forest and get different species of trees planted all throughout town, particularly in areas where maybe we need infill trees from larger trees that have failed over time, or new homes where new subdivisions where we haven't had trees planted yet, and we need to get those trees planted and build our urban forest. So this year, our species are emerald sunshine elm, chinkapin oak, American hop hornbeam, and the northern red oak. And anyone who's watching this, if you would like to apply for the program, the information is on our website. It's available on Facebook. You can call my office, 769-2266, or you can send me an email, and I'm happy to walk through how to apply for the program and get a tree planted in your home if you would like to take care of one. So anyway, and with that, I will go into my program here. Let's see. Slideshow, where are we at? Right there. Okay. Well, I'm also going to give you guys a brief update about some work that Monty McCauley and I have been doing on trying to apply for some grants through the Idaho Department of Lands to get some fuel mitigation work done in some of our natural areas. The first is we have put together a packet and applied for the Western States Fire Management Grant, and this would be for Tubbs Hill. Now, Tubbs Hill is a park that doesn't need much of an introduction, but it's a 160-acre plus natural area in downtown Coeur d'Alene. It's one of our community's most prized hiking and recreational areas. The Parks Department, we've done a lot of work in the past, fuel mitigation projects. A lot of those are smaller scale places that really need that work. And a lot of our burning, especially recently, some of the restrictions around burnings have made things a little tight. We had a burn plan for 2020 that didn't get to come to fruition, mainly because of COVID and some of the things with not wanting to fill the air with smoke. But this grant would be to target the entire hill. And as you can see in this rough map, which this map would evolve over time and change, this is just a big picture type of thing. This shows the initially where we would be looking to do fuel mitigation work on Tubbs Hill. The second grant that we've applied for is the Hazard Fuel Reduction Grant, and this is for the Canfield Mountain / Can Course LLC property and Veterans Centennial Park. Now, the Canfield Mountain Natural Area is one of our most popular recreational natural areas in Coeur d'Alene, and it's about 24 acres. That's our property. Now, the Can Course LLC property abuts this natural area, and it's about 100 acres as well. Now, if you're not familiar with Veterans Centennial Park, that is a natural area that's in the Fernand Hill Estates neighborhood. This is approximately a 17-acre natural area. It's mainly used for recreation in that neighborhood. There may be plans with that in the future, but right now it's more of a natural area for the residents in that area. All of these areas, including Tubbs Hill, they abut residential homes directly. And these are what we consider to be the wildland urban interface, also referred to as WUI areas. And this is where residential homes or commercial property butt up to natural areas and are at the highest risk for fire due to wildfire. And for this property, you can see this is the initial treatment area that we're looking at with these two areas. Like I said, this would evolve and change over time. This is not definite, but this is the areas we would look to treat with these grant dollars if they were to come to us. So the financial impact. Now for the Tubbs Hill project, we're looking at a grant amount of $240,000. That's the money that would be asking for from IDL through the grant program to complete this work. The matching funds are $24,000, 10%. That's what we would have to match. That doesn't have to be in dollars, green cash type of thing. That can be through work. That can be through time spent working on the project. It's an in-kind match. So $12,000 of that is promised from the city of Coeur d'Alene, and one of our partners, the Tubbs Hill Foundation, we are working with them on the other $12,000. The partners in this, as I mentioned, we have the Tubbs Hill Foundation, the city of Coeur d'Alene, and we're working on this grant with the Kootenai County Operations of Emergency Management. They've been integral in all this. So financial impact for the Canfield and Veterans Centennial project, same amount, $240,000. That's the amount that we're looking to get through the grant. And a good thing about this grant is its matching funds are zero. We have $0 in match due for this work if we were to get this. Partnership is with the City of Coeur d'Alene, Kootenai County Operations Emergency Management, and Can Course LLC. So timeline for this. So these grants take a while. Grants usually take years to come to fruition, as we usually see. And these grants proposals, they have been submitted and they have been selected to move forward in the application development process. So city staff, me and Monty most likely, we're going to begin meetings with IDL in early April to define the details about our grant proposals. And then once those are complete, roughly in May, they'll be prepared to go before the competitive process in September of 2022. Now, it's a competitive process. We're going to be competing with other people to get this money. Now, if we're selected, planning work would begin most likely in the winter and spring of 2023, with then work to follow that planning. So definite timeline, nothing set in stone right now, but first we got to see if we're lucky enough to get the projects. And the expectations. So the goals of these projects would be to reduce the fuel loads in these natural areas and create fuel breaks between the natural areas and residential properties, to enhance the natural beauty of these natural areas and promote forest health, to perform fuel mitigation work that can be maintained and remain effective for the long term. And if we are selected to receive grant funds, this work would look pretty similar to some of the work you've seen on Fernand Hill if you've been in that area. So my next slide is just a couple pictures of some of the work that we would do in these areas that really need fuel mitigation. Similar look to what we would look to do in these thicker parts of Tubbs Hill where we need the fuel mitigation work done. So if people start getting into this and want to see what some of those might look like, that's a good example. Now, every project is different, and we might not write the same prescription as we would for this area, and we would work with a project manager to help us figure out what would be best to apply. Get to Tubbs Hill.
And I'll add that, too close to the microphone. I'll add that this picture before wasn't a bunch of trees that were cut down. This was a thick 9-bark fire hazard brush that was cleared out. So you're not seeing a lot of trees that got cut down there.
Yeah, that's. I guess I probably had some pre-work photos would have been good to add, but yeah, we really don't remove trees. In fact, on Fernand Hill, we had a standing no cut on anything over 7 inch in diameter on the Fernand Hill for the city property. So, Anyway, but this is just an informative item, not asking for anything from you guys tonight. Just want to let you know the work that we're doing and the grants we're looking to receive. If we're lucky enough to be selected for these grants, we'll give you continual updates and let you know when the work is coming. I'm happy to
Appreciate
stand for
that.
any questions.
I'd like to add a couple things in there. The Canfield grant does have a match. It's just that the city is not going to be the one matching it. That would be the county. They're partnering with us on that. So they're taking care of that part. And I believe on the Tubbs grant, the 24,000, 12 for us, 12 for Tubbs Hill, just so there's no confusion out there. That will be a cash match, and any in-kind we do is going to be called, it's leverage. It's a form of match that's done above and beyond that will count towards the grant as well.
So Monty took this to the Tubbs Hill Foundation, and we created a partnership where we went 50-50 on this 24K for matching.
Great. Any other questions? Thank you for the presentation. Keep us informed of how it progresses. Okay, remaining on our agenda tonight are some action items, the first being vendors at Atlas. And go ahead and I'll read the staff report. The subject again is a request for proposals for food concession at Atlas Park. The decision tonight would be, should the commission recommend to General Services that a request for proposals be issued for food concessions at Atlas Park and authorize staff to pick the most qualified bidders? History. Atlas Park is Coeur d'Alene's newest waterfront park, and it already sees a large amount of use by visitors. The park was constructed with an area built especially for food trucks to operate from Memorial Weekend through Labor Day. This vendor pad has electric and water built in for use by food concessionaires. Food concessions will provide a needed service, a needed service for the visiting public. Financial analysis. Once 4 vendors are selected after the RFP process, lease fees will be collected to help pay for the park's capital improvements. The fee for each agreement will be $5,000 per year for 3 years, with the option to renew for an additional 3 years for each vendor. Payments shall be made before April 15th for each subsequent year, with the payment being made to the city's Parks and Recreation Department and will be deposited in the Parks Capital Improvement Fund. Performance analysis. Food vendors provide a service to the public that we do not provide. It is in a good location in a busy area and visible to daily park visitors and new visitors. The lease agreements will require the vendors to keep the area neat and clean and also impose additional requirements on the vendors consistent with other similar city contracts. Again, the decision tonight, the commission should recommend to General Services that a request for proposals be issued for food concessions at Atlas Park and authorize staff to pick the most qualified bidders. With that, Bill, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, only thing I'd like to add is this is Monty's item, and my name got put on there, but Monty did all the heavy lifting. So any of the questions that you may have about this, I would suggest we talk directly to Mr. McCulley.
Okay.
And if you look at the screen, I've put up an overhead diagram that kind of lists and shows everything. This is a big wall that was constructed with the park. It has some heavy-duty electricity. What is it, 50 amp, 125/250 volt, 2-phase outlets. So these guys with food trucks, they'll have all their, 110 go into a panel, and that panel will run out and they'll plug it straight into that wall that has domestic water. And so the idea is, we've been pretty successful at Independence Point and McEwen Park with the Bowie Boys to have food available for park visitors that want to go out and get a taco or a hamburger or something. So when they came up with the idea for this park, they built it in this time. So it's a great thing. We're just trying to finally get the ball rolling for this summer for it.
Monty, we've got electric and water utilities available. I assume that these food trucks or trailers will be self-contained as far as wastewater?
Yes, it'll be their responsibility to dump all gray water on their own.
Under the request for proposals or the eventual agreement, are they going to be required to be removed every night when the park closes, or would they be able to be parked there during the season?
They'd be able to be there during the season, just like down at City Park. And, well, the Bowie Boys is a permanent facility, but the Independence Point, the Tiki Hut or whatever it is now, they stay all night.
Okay. Jenny?
How did you arrive at the fee of $5,000?
Well, Independence Point is higher than this. We came at a lower amount just to see the interest for now, and we thought there might be less people. We might be wrong. There might be more people. But we figured, plus there's more vendors, so we'd spread that cost out amongst everybody.
I guess my only concern is, understanding it's in a different location, it's probably a more specially constructed area, so more money put into it. And is at that rate, are we causing a competing interest to the regular brick and mortar restaurants? My concern is some backlash at that fee price.
Well, I believe with the greater development coming in, the latest plans show a hotel and a great big apartment building and all the houses that are going to go in and the businesses. I think you're going to have plenty of people they'll still go to a restaurant that might come down there, and you'll still have people that want to get food during the day. A lot of those restaurants will be, later in the evenings where some of the food trucks might not be open as late.
I appreciate that. I'm not, again, this is a person that's been an accountant forever. Are we charging enough for it? That's my question. And I suppose, we have to take a run at it to see what that is and what the interest is. But I think I will want to revisit that.
Well, if I may, so this is $3,000 less than the Independence Point vendor, okay? And so, again, with the 4 different trucks, we weren't certain what the appetite is there, and so we took an arbitrary number. Now, let's back up a moment, too. In the renewal, let's say, we decide that we can adjust that number. We did that you saw that with the Bowie Boys here at Harbor Center here last year, where we allowed them to expand their footprint, and they then came back with a 35% increase in what they were paying. So we can do it the same way, but I thought, like Monty suggested, it's just kind of dipping our toe in that pool to see what what it might bring us. I actually wondered whether or not I might be asking too much. I don't think so.
I don't think so.
No, it may not be enough, but that's why we set a minimum, and that's why when these bidders come forward, we might see some much higher numbers, because we have received this year and last year. Melissa has just got phone calls last week about people wanting to do things in the park, and we say, well, look for the advertisement. It's coming out, and I've spoken personally to about a dozen people, or half a dozen people rather, about their interest in having a food truck in one of our parks. And I tell them, we're working on something, so watch the paper.
Perfect. No, I think it's fine to move forward. I think we just need to monitor it, and especially given the amount of staffing it takes to make sure things are neat and tidy, because people are not always neat and tidy.
No, they're not.
Thank you, Monty.
Christie?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Bill, well, I'm excited for food trucks too. We both walk our dogs down there. After a couple miles, Dog and I are hungry. So that's great. But do you see this as being during the week or just the weekends?
It'll be 7 days a week from Memorial Day to Labor Day, just like Independence Point.
That's incredible that's great, because it's not always that busy, but good.
Will the hours of operation be kind of up to each of the vendors, or are there going to be a specific requirement for, minimum open hours on a daily basis?
Well, we haven't specified that deep into it yet. We figure we'll come to an agreement with each food truck during the contract time. We didn't do that with Independence Point or any of the others. At least not in the RFP.
Okay.
So what I was thinking is it may be tailored. For example, a coffee truck is going to want to start earlier and maybe not go as late. A lunch place might want to start a little earlier and go a little later. And so we're hoping that within those RFPs, that's part of their sell. They're telling us what they're providing and what their hours of operation might be. And so in that, we can get that rating criteria and then scale it out or weigh it and then add it up and see who the winners are.
I think that's well thought through.
Any other questions or comments?
No, Mr. Chair, I would make a motion that Commission recommended general services that a request for proposals be issued for food concessions at Atlas Park and authorize staff to pick the most qualified bidders.
I'll second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Wood and seconded by Commissioner Tate to recommend to general services that a request for proposals be issued for food concessions at Atlas Park and authorize staff to pick the most qualified bidders. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that recommendation moves forward unanimously. Bill, when does this go before general services?
I think it's next Monday.
Okay. Next up is the Lake Coeur d'Alene Cruises Agreement renewal. The decision tonight, should the commission recommend that council renew the city's lease agreement with Lake Coeur d'Alene Cruises for an additional 5-year period with an optional 5-year extension. History. Lake Coeur d'Alene Cruises has been leasing bays 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, and 8 on the commercial dock for over 25 years. Financial analysis. The rental amounts, as per the lease agreements, are increased each year based on the current consumer's price index. The lease will be $47,014.33 based on a monthly rental of $1,097.44 per month per bay from April 1st, 2022 to to October 31st, 2022, plus $921.85, which is the 2% Department of Lands fee. Leasee is required to report any use of said dock during the period of November 1st to March 31st, providing compensation to the lessor on a per-use basis. Performance analysis. Lake Coeur d'Alene Cruises currently has a 2-year lease agreement with the city that will expire on March 31st, 2022. They are requesting a renewal of their lease for a 5-year term going forward. Section 3 of this agreement allows Lake Coeur d'Alene Cruises to submit a written request for a 5-year extension of their lease after April 1st, 2026 and before September 1st, 2026. The decision or recommendation tonight, should the commission recommend that council approve the renewed lease agreement with Lake Coeur d'Alene Cruises?
Well, we've had a partnership with them, like we said, for over 25 years. It's been a great partnership. They offer a wonderful service, and the only real change in this is the years in which the lease runs. I thought it was prudent to go ahead and go to a 5-year. It didn't seem like it was that long ago that brought this to you 2 years ago, and so it just seemed to me that we have a great relationship. There's no reason not to give them a 5-year extension.
Okay. Any questions for Bill?
Yeah, I do have a question. Bill, how are the docks holding up and the pilings with the boats coming in? And if that's an issue, is that dealt with just a different funding mechanism to take care of that, or?
So they've been really good about if they were to hit a pile, and that has happened in the past. We have since replaced some on their nickel because they're real good about letting us know when that happens. So it's pretty clear there's usually a blue spot, so it's kind of a tell. But they've been great about always letting us know. And so we haven't had a busted piling in some time because we had a few replaced a few years ago. So they're in great shape.
Okay.
The dock in itself, I'll say this, we some years ago flipped the deck boards over, and we're going to have to be looking here in the next several years about a replacement for that dock. And I'd like to go more to what we've got at the launch docks, which are a steel truss on polyfloat tubes with a composite deck. Those have been on that seawall's the one that's been there the longest, and it looks as good as it did the day we put it in. And Monty just got us a grant to replace the 2 launch docks. So they're a great system. So when we get to that point, that's the direction I'd like to go.
Just as kind of a reminder for everybody, Bill, where does the rental fees go? What, does that go into that dedicated waterfront account?
Well, it goes into Parks Capital, and then we have an opportunity to disseminate where those funds, if they get placed in waterfront improvement. This would most likely go that direction, but capital first, and then when we budget things, we then pull out of that capital and move it into the proper funding sources for that work.
Okay.
Mr. Chair?
Christie?
Bill, I like that you have CPI built into this.
Yes.
Do you have that in most of our leases?
Yes, we do. Absolutely.
Excellent.
Yep.
Excellent.
Anything else for Bill? Any other further discussion? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Well, I would make a motion that the commission should recommend that the council approve the renewal lease agreement with the Lake City Coeur d'Alene Cruises.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Lean and seconded by Commissioner Tate to recommend that council approve the renewed lease agreement with Lake Coeur d'Alene Cruises. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that moves forward with a unanimous recommendation, Bill. Again, does this go
General
to
services,
General
yes.
Services first
Yep.
on Monday, okay? Okay, getting close to winding it up here this evening. Our last action item then is a commercial boat dock request for proposals. The decision tonight, should the commission recommend that council approve issuance of a request for proposals to solicit interested businesses for proposals to build 2 docks and operate the businesses that would provide water-based recreation for the public near Harbor Center, and to authorize city staff to select the most qualified bidder through a review team. History. The 3rd Street Boat Launch is one of the busiest boat launches in Idaho. The launch is extremely crowded with members of the public and water sport rental companies. The Parks and Recreation Department has a plan to reduce overcrowding on the 3rd Street dock by advertising for commercial businesses to enter into agreements with the city to build a pair of commercial docks and operate 2 separate water-based recreation businesses on the Spokane River. This area has been one of the busiest within our community, and we always strive to stay ahead of the needs of our citizens. This proposal will help with several concerns that we identify in the performance analysis. Financial analysis. Per the proposed agreements, the businesses that are selected would each build a dock with 26 slips in the dock system at their cost. The businesses would incur reduced lease costs for the first 5 years to mitigate the cost of building the docks, with a minimum payment to the city of $15,000 per year for each dock. After the initial 5-year period, the city would receive a minimum payment of $30,000 per year for each dock for the next 5-year period. The renewal of this lease is optional every 5 years. Performance analysis. The proposal will help take some of the pressure off the launch docks by having some of the boat rental companies not using the launch for their boats. This will allow the public greater access to this type of recreational experience while visiting the city. All funds from this agreement would be placed in the Parks Capital Improvement Fund, which will help offset maintenance and repair costs and possible future construction related to waterfront needs. The approval of the agreement is predicated on the approval from the Idaho Department of Lands on an encroachment permit. The decision or recommendation tonight: should the commission recommend that city council issue a request for proposals to solicit interested businesses to construct, maintain, and manage a pair of boat docks and the accompanying commercial water-based businesses that would provide water-based recreation for the public, and to authorize city staff to select the most qualified bidder through a review team. Add anything, Bill?
No, so you saw this some years ago. This came forward. We were looking at this location. We've already secured the permit through IDL. And we were looking at this, and then we were going to go after another location that ran aground. And it took us a while to dust that off and then try and sort out what we were going to do. So at that time, there was discussion about the Parks Department paying for the dock, and it was one of our commissioners who asked the question, why don't we have them pay for it? Very good question. So that's what we're doing. So again, these RFPs, this 15K is a minimum. So, and the same thing's true in the 5-year renewal. It's a minimum. So if they want to, again, when they put these proposals together, I would anticipate that 15K to be a little higher, but I want to leave it alone where it's at, because they're going to have probably $150,000 to $200,000 out of pocket to build this system. And so I want to be fair, but what we're really doing is just leasing our riparian rights, similar to that we do at the 10th Street Dock Owners Association on East Hubs. We won't have any maintenance, we won't have the liability, but we will reap the capital.
Christie?
No, Mr. Chair, you had a question.
Oh, Bill, while you've got kind of the overhead view up here, can you kind of just walk us through briefly or in summary the public's access and parking that would
Yes.
be used to access these?
So the parking lots here are not as used in the summertime as when the school's out, and so consequently, these are more open. The thing that I don't, we didn't touch upon is that this area, if you recall, in the BLM master plan, shows docks being placed at this location, along with other improvements in here. So if you remember, there was some green space, some restrooms, and like a pavilion, or not really a pavilion, more of a gazebo, not a pavilion like we have here at McEwen. So this is all was adopted by you and council about this BLM master plan. So this is just another piece in the puzzle that we're fulfilling that. We've done this downriver with the parking lot that we put in when we did La Crosse punch through. And that again is part of that master plan. And we are doing the grading up downriver for the pickleball courts and the soccer fields right now. And so they're moving dirt around for that. So this is an ongoing plan. We've had, I think it was 14 that we did this, or 15 with the BLM master plan. So this is a piece of that. So the idea would be that there are some existing cutouts and landings here, because there were docks here before. In '99, I removed the last piece of dock that was there. It was a head wall, or that allowed for debris to roll off. But this used to be, as you all might remember, dock system anyway. So they're utilizing the 2 cutouts. There's some platforms. They would be responsible for the gangway and the building of the docks and all that maintenance. We don't want one vendor having, so it was very clear in that how we crafted that. We don't want one vendor leasing both. We want to spread that wealth around and have 2 separate companies. And that's about all I can say, I think. Is there any other questions that might be I can answer?
Christie?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, Bill, I do think this is something that I hope does get to come to council, because it is something that has been talked about for a while. And for those of us who were here in the 80s, that was a great, fun time. We had docks down there, and that was a lot of fun. But I had a specific question on bullet point number 1 on the project scope. What caught my eye was, and maybe this is the norm, I'm just asking you to walk me through it. The contractor will own the dock system, including the gangway. So the dock system, I understand. The gangway, it seems like we would want to retain that, just so that I guess we aren't just completely locked out. And I don't know, maybe that's not something reasonable, but any thoughts on that?
So the gangway is part of the dock system. And so again, we don't want that liability, and we don't
I
want
see.
that cost. And so it's going to be a very long aluminum ramp that's going to take them from the landing down to the dock. So it'll be similar to the short landing, or the gangway we have at Independence Point. That's only about 22 feet. This one's going to be much longer.
I see.
And
Okay.
so again, my thinking on this deal is that we're after the revenue and not the liability and the cost.
Okay, that makes sense. Well, yeah, I think this is something definitely that should move forward, but I will listen to everyone else, see where we end up.
So, Bill, I guess just to clarify, the successful commercial business that gets one of the agreements for one of the docks, they will build the docks at their cost. Do they maintain ownership of the actual physical asset there, or does that at some point get
Correct.
gifted to the city?
Correct. They will maintain it. We had discussed at length internally about the possibility of that rolling to us in 5 years. And I don't know, at the end of 5 years, do we want to take a used dock and become liable for them? And you know, I wouldn't say they've outlived their life. They've begun to get older, and deferred maintenance would then fall on us. And I really don't want that. So that's why I did it the way we did it. Now, in that negotiation with those vendors, I might say that if at some point there is further discussion where they're going to go out of business and maybe, you know, in their RFP, they're crafting it, again, it's up to those individuals how they craft that RFP. The idea of the RFP is they have to sell us why they're the best vendor. And if they craft it up in a way that says, you know, we'd like to do this way, and possibly the city would be interested, we might have first right of refusal, that sort of idea, maybe. But again, it has to be at a point where we're at the position financially that we could buy those back, or if we want to enter into, again, I'm just spitballing here because maybe we say, well, they would like to give us those, and we work out a deal. I don't know, but the way I wanted to do this is, and I'm keeping it open because I don't know how those RFPs are going to come forward, is I just really want them to own them and maintain them. And then if they were to go away, they then could possibly sell the asset, but not the lease.
Okay, did you have something, Jenny?
Thank you. That was my question, the right of first refusal, and then how they were going to abandon the asset.
Right.
Should they choose to do that?
Right.
Thank you.
Jim?
Is that a no-wake zone there?
Yes. Yeah, I think it starts at the bridge. I can't remember exactly where it is, but I think it's the
I think
bridge.
you're right. Do the docks stay all winter? They stay up all year long?
Well, that's up to we asked for that, yes. We asked for it to be able to, if it can ground and or a flotation, not a flotation, but a cradle system where it wouldn't rack. If the ground there, the lake bed is flat enough, it might rest and not be damaged. But if it's at such a degree and angle, it will rack and twist it. So they have to do something with a platform for that to rest on off-season. Again, I'm willing to have them negotiate in the RFP about the removal of and then the replacement of. We do that ourselves at Mill River. We take those docks out and then brought back. This system's kind of expensive and it's kind of big, so I don't know if it might be worth their time to do the system I just described. But again, within that RFP, they can talk about that. And that's how, Scott has set in on those before, and how we rate that criteria is based on that entire presentation. And I've had vendors call me about these RFPs before, and I have said this, it's almost like an interview. You have to sell us. Why are you the vendor we want to choose? The same when you're interviewing for an employee. You explain to us why you're the best employee for us, right? So it's the same thing with the vendor. You have to just sell it.
Christie?
Bill, you talk about the whole purpose of this is because how busy it is at the 3rd Street launch. So if this were to come to fruition, do you anticipate that there wouldn't be any more commercial activity at 3rd Street? Or you would just...
I'm hoping that we can minimize it, we won't completely stop it.
Okay.
I think what the hope is, the rental companies will still have to launch their vessels there, but they won't have to have as many launches on a daily basis if they can stay slipped in the docks for long periods of time.
Correct.
And it's probably more efficient on their end of it, where they're not utilizing so much staff time from trailering boats in and out, meeting potential customers to rent the, the.
Yeah.
Chairman, you hit it right on the head. That's what I thought it would be really
Vessels, yeah.
advantageous to just have a slip and not have to have those people running boats through town.
I also think that it would probably cut down on some of the hazards of getting those boats in and out where people are walking across.
Yep.
Okay.
Anything further?
I do have.
Yep.
I have a question for you, real quick, Bill. So previously, you kind of mentioned well, I guess I was just going to ask if there were any vendors or any businesses that had already expressed interest in this. I don't think that would be a problem, but I was just wondering, based off of the.
Honestly, there's a couple of larger players out there that I think that have the business background. They've been doing it for some years. So I hope that they would throw their hat in the ring. So I'm hopeful that we've got a handful out there that can get into, hopefully, a bidding war, really, is what I'm kind of hoping for.
Well, if there's no further discussion, I'll entertain a motion.
You want me to do it? I can move it on.
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
I would make a motion that the commission will recommend to General Services, to City Council, to issue a request for proposals to solicit interested businesses to construct, maintain, and manage a pair of boat docks and the accompanying commercial water-based businesses that would provide water-based recreation for the public, and to authorize city staff to select the most qualified bidder through a review team.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. The motion's been made by Commissioner Lean and seconded by Commissioner Spencer to recommend to General Services and City Council to issue a request for proposals to solicit interested businesses to construct, maintain, and manage a pair of boat docks and the accompanying commercial water-based businesses that would provide water-based recreation for the public, and to authorize city staff to select the most qualified bidder through a review team. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Again, I guess that will go to General Services then as a unanimous recommendation
Thank you.
Monday.
And then I will ask, Chairman, if you would be involved in that selection committee again. We did that the last round with a vendor at, I guess it was the Independence Point, or was it the Harbor House? It was the Harbor House.
It was a Harbor House.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, if you ask me in the open meeting, it's going to be hard for me to say no.
Well, that's why I did it.
Oh, boy.
As I was thinking, I was like, yeah, I'm not going to give you a chance to back out. You were so good last time.
I'll be happy to.
Thank you.
Kind of while we're on the subject of our waterfront facilities and recreation, do you have an update at all on the fireboat dock and structure that's going to be down in our mooring facility?
No, not really. It's just taken a little bit longer. We had some difficulty with permitting, in that it's a facility that has some folks in it. And so consequently, we ran into some issues with the way it was anchored. And one of the problems we ran into was the lake bed was too shallow there to drive pilings. We ran into that at the Harbor House as Tubbs feathers out. You recall we had to raise the Harbor House by 3 or 4 feet because we were on rock. The same thing's true there where we were hitting, we did some soundings and we found we couldn't drive the pilings deep enough. And so we had to go to a different type of system, and it brought the cost up and the engineering up. And so our former chief, Gabriel, had to go back to the well again to get some more money to cover that. So hopefully by the end of this year, we'll have Fire 5 up and running, Fire Station 5. But, you know, with you being an architect, you know how the construction is. And even right now, we can't count on our contractors. We don't know if their availability. On another side note about that, the shade structure at Riverstone has been delayed a little bit because the person who's going to drive or install the footings for the posts that hold the shade structure up has been unavailable. And we've missed the window of opportunity to work in the winter so we don't damage the park. Right now it's too wet, so I'm at a point, I'd let them know that if we can't get this done, and this was a week ago, within 2 weeks, we're not going to do it this spring. It's going to have to wait until the winter. So that being said, I just bring that up because of the delays. That's contractual delays, and even some of the stuff has to do with you know, product itself. Sometimes it's not available.
With the design of Fire Station 5, the float house, is it dependent on lake water level?
I don't know if it would, because that doesn't, you know, where it's at, it doesn't ground. So it shouldn't, because these anchoring systems are in a self-adjusting mechanism that, because they're going to be just big anchors, really, instead of like we've got on the breakwater is that way. It's got big anchors that are hundreds of pounds, and that's the same kind of anchoring system that we're going to use for the Fire 5.
Okay. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
Last chance for any comments or announcements. Okay, I'm just going to make a couple of meeting announcements then. Upcoming, our next scheduled commission workshop will be Tuesday, April 5, 2022 at 11:30 a.m. This will be in City Hall Conference Room number 6. And then our regular monthly meeting will be April 18th, 2022 at 5:30 p.m. right here in the library community room. And with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Lean and seconded by Commissioner Spencer to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.